All right. Let me get a Rambam. Let's skip the Rambam. I don't know if we have time. Okay. How are you? All right. We started the mood of Nevi'im. And again, all the learning is Leuni Shmat Simcha Bat Rachel. Tina Shmatat Zorah Hayim Beganet Yemeluchata. And all this learning should be a schut for her and Aliyat Nishama. Okay, so we decided we're going to learn the last three Nevi'im called Trei Asar. There's a book called Trei Asar with the 12 prophets, 12 Nevi'im. The last three are Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi.
The last three of the Anshe Knesset.
Oh, very good. We have a scholar in our midst. And Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi were actually members of the Anshe Knesset Gdolah, together with Daniel. And you'll see Zerubbabel here quoted here also when Chagai was a member of the Anshe Knesset Gdolah of the Great Assembly. So the first 9 Nevi'im of the Sefer were doing the first Bet HaMikdash. The last 3 is already here, the beginning of the second Bet HaMikdash, or right before the building of the second Bet HaMikdash. Now, Chagai begins like this: Bishnat Shtayim leDaryavish HaMelech, year 2 of Daryavish. Now, who is Daryavish? Rashi tells you, want to know who Daryavish is? Daryavish is the son of Esther. Daryavish is the son of Esther. So, Koresh, about 17, 18 years before, gave permission to build the Bet HaMikdash. But then we had all the people referred to as Tzarei Yehuda and Tzarei Binyamin, those who went to antagonize against the Jews and said, how can you let them build a temple? And Koresh puts a stop to it. Then we have, so Koresh rules for a couple more years, and Achashverosh takes over. Achashverosh reigns for 14 years. And now we have year 2 of Daryavish, Achashverosh's son. Right? Now he's Bishnat Shtayim leDaryavish HaMelech. B'chodesh HaShishi, which is Bayom HaEchad LaChodesh, Rosh Chodesh Elul. Haya Devar Hashem b'yad Chagai HaNavi. Now Chagai HaNavi has a nevuah. Now before we get to the nevuah, so the Mabim has a fascinating introduction. And he says like this. He says, really, when Sancheriv exiled the 10 tribes, most of the Jews were really thrown out of Eretz Yisrael. The only Jews to remain was Yehuda and Binyamin. Everybody else was thrown out. That's when he began the period of Geulah. And if the Jews would have merited, the final redemption would have come there. We find the Gemara says many times that Chizkiyahu HaMelech could have been Mashiach, right? But he failed, and he wasn't Mashiach instead. And ultimately, the Bet HaMikdash Yeshaya could have been Mashiach. Also, it didn't work out, and it failed. And now we were exiled to Babel. Now, in reality, there was no zuchut to leave exile. The reason why we left, Malbim says, similar to Yetziat Mitzrayim. It would have left us there a little bit longer. We would have disappeared as a nation. So in reality, we're in Babel, and you see the Jews began to intermarry and forget the Torah and forget their language, and slowly the Jews were dying out. And Hashem says, if I leave them in Galut, it's over. So it began the impetus to return back to Eretz Yisrael, and this was Koresh decreed, but wasn't the final time, and therefore it was stopped. And here we're about almost 18 years later, where Hashem sends Chagai to go with a message to rebuild the Bet HaMikdash. Now, we're going to see here that the Jews are going to complain and say, it's not the time. First of all, the Jews got discouraged, demoralized, because Koresh said, let's build a Bet HaMikdash, and it was stopped. And now they're sitting in Eretz Yisrael, but demoralized. The kingdom is not allowing them to build it. There's no new building, and they're just sitting there paralyzed, seeing, they're stuck, seeing the Bet HaMikdash is not coming, redemption is not coming, and they're just all in a bad place. And this comes Chagai into the scene. And he says, the Nebuah was first to Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel, who's Pachat Yehuda. What's Pachat Yehuda mean? He was the leader. There was no king at that point. Kind of the governor or the leader of Yehuda of the Jews. Vel Yehuda ben Yehotzedek HaKohen Gadol. And to Yoshua ben Yehotzedek, who was the Kohen Gadol. So these are two leaders of the Jewish people. You have Zerubbabel, who is the political leader, and you have Yehoshua ben Yehotzedek, who is the spiritual leader. It's Kohen Gadol, right? He's the Kohen Gadol. Now, actually, his father, Yehotzedek, was the last Kohen Gadol in Bayit Rishon, right? It was his last Kohen Gadol Bayit Rishon, and this is his son Yehoshua, who actually becomes the first Kohen Gadol in Bayit Sheni. So the Nevuah forces to them. Ko amar Hashem tzevaot lemor. Ha'amazeh amru. The nation said, Lo etbo. It is not time to come for the Beit HaMikdash. The nation is saying he's not coming. Why isn't it time to build a Beit HaMikdash? We don't see any of the signs. Well, we're not sitting b'menucha. The Jews are really suffering under at this point, Paras, Persian rule. Things are tranquil. The world's supposed to be tranquil, like by Shlomo HaMelech. David and Shlomo managed to bring peace to Eretz Yisrael and the surrounding area, and then they built the Beit HaMikdash. There's no tranquility. Second of all the signs before Mashiach are not here. There's no war of Gog and Magog. All the signs that the Nevi'im told us before the redemption, we don't see. Must be lo edbo. It's not time to build. I'm going to mute everybody. I don't know. Okay. Lo edbo. It's not time to build. That's what the nations are saying. But Hashem says, Ed bet Hashem libanut. No, now is the time to build the Beit HaMikdash. So he first tells us the Nevuah to who? To Zerubbabel, the leader of the Jewish people, Bachad Yehuda, and to Yoshua ben Yotzedek, the Kohen Gadol. Can everybody mute themselves because there's a lot of noise? Okay, you got it.
You can close.
Okay, thank you. Oh. Now Chagai turns to the nation. Sorry, Mechila. I'm going to do this one more time and see if we can get it to work.
Or was it?
No, it's gone. It's quiet now. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. Now, part of the miscalculation was as follows. The Chashvarosh makes a huge party, right? Why does he make a huge party? Because he thinks, now the Nevuah was that 70 years after Galut, we're going to have a second Beit HaMikdash. Now, they understood it to mean from the time Bavel conquered Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, 70 years has come since Bavel conquers Eretz Yisrael, and no Beit HaMikdash, no redemption, no nothing. Achashverosh makes a big party. That means it's not happening. Therefore, he takes all the Kalim Beit HaMikdash and he has them out there and he starts, right? That was the celebration. That was all miscalculated, including the Jews. And that's why Koresh allows them to build 18 years before. But what they miscalculated was, it wasn't from the time Bavel conquers Eretz Yisrael, but from the moment of the Churban, which was 18 years later. So when Koresh told him to build the Beit HaMikdash, it wasn't yet time. It was 18 years before the 70 years were really up. And therefore, he wasn't successful. And the Jews weren't successful. The Chagai comes and says, you all made a mistake. Now is the time. Therefore, Vayidbar Hashem b'yad Chagai Navi Lemor. Ha'et lachem atem lashev b'batechem sefonim, abayit aseh charev. Is now the time for you to sit in your homes, sefonim, nice homes, roofed, enclosed, comfortable. And this house is destroyed. How could you sit comfortably by when Bet Hashem is destroyed? You're all comfortable in your homes. You're living in comforts. V'ata כה אמר Hashem. כה אמר Hashem tzevakot. שימו לבבכם על דרככם. Just pay attention to your road, what's going on around you. זרעתם הרבה. You sat and you planted a tremendous amount. והווה מעט. You only were able to harvest a little bit. Achol. You eat whatever you're able to harvest. Ven lasova. It's not enough to satiate you. Sheto. You drink wine. Ven lashochra. The wine is not good. It's not good quality. It doesn't even intoxicate you. Lavosh ven lachomlo. You have clothing. They don't warm you up. V'amistakel, and those who actually make a living, make money. Mistakel al sor nakuv, as if you have a hole in your pocket. Whatever you put in just falls right out. Right? Sor nakuv. We know that feeling, right? He says, pay attention. Why do you think this is happening? Why is it? Is it normal? Usually you put a few seeds and you got a lot of growth. Here you put tons and you grow very little. Wine's not blessed. There's no bracha on anything that you do. Why do you think there's no bracha on everything that you do? Hashem's trying to wake you up because you've been negligent in building the Bet HaMikdash. Now it's time to build it. You're saying it's not time to come. It is time to come. And more than that, Rashi brings the Midrash. You want to know why all these things are happening? Just pay attention. Midah keneged midah. You're not bringing bikurim. Therefore, you're producing very little. You're eating and you're not satiated because you're not bringing menachot in the Bet HaMikdash. Wine, the grapes are not good quality. They don't even intoxicate because you're not doing nisuch hayayin on the mizbeach. Your clothing, there's no big dekahuna. You want your clothing to work, right? Anything you gain, right? There's no beracha in anything that you do because the beracha comes from Bet HaMikdash. And there's no Bet HaMikdash, there's no beracha. And this is happening outside what's normal. So clearly, it's a sign for you. And he continues, pay attention. Alu hahar, go up to the mountain. V'habetem etz, and bring wood. Ubnu abayit, and just go build the Bet HaMikdash. Ve'etzebo, and I'll desire it. Don't say we're not wealthy, we don't have money, we don't have anything. Nobody asks you for anything grander. Get up and build what you have. Get some wood and start building. Now be honored in it. Amar Hashem. Just build it. And it's clear, the Malbim points out. Here we have Chagai. Nevuah basically is gone from the world. Right? On Shekhanes Gdolah, already years before, in Paras, exiled the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. And the moment they did that, also the ability to become Navi also left. These are the last remaining Navi'im that exist. Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Right? There's no more Nevuah in the world. And here Hashem sends a Navi, beginning of Beit Sheni, to go build. And he says, if you build it, this will be the beginning of the redemption, beginning of the Geulah. And it's clear from all the Mefarshim that if the Jews would have come up from Babel and from everywhere to Eretz Yisrael to build the Beit HaMikdash, Mashiach would have come right then and there. Problem is nobody came. Nobody came. The Jews stayed behind. Only if whoever was in Eretz Yisrael and a few remnants went up. So it just became a temporary. Binyan Arai, temporary binyan, it lasted 420 years. But this wasn't the final redemption because imagine, a Navi comes and tells you to go build a Bet HaMikdash, get together, gather, and then redemption will come.
That was the second temple?
Second. And nobody leaves their homes. Everybody stayed back in Babel and where they were.
Why did they stay back? Because you were comfortable?
Comfortable. Life is comfortable, right? I got my business, I got my things, I got my house and my cars, and everything's going nice. Go to Israel, go rough it, go find an apartment, right? Pay $1 gazillion. It's not an easy way to live in Israel, right? Maybe all this crazy anti-Semitism is trying to tell us, give us a sign, Look around. It's not your house. You're just guests.
Then they got missiles falling on them.
Yeah, they have to remind them also it's not the final redemption either. Yeah, we should stop killing each other and come together. Yeah. So he said, go up to Navavetz and bring wood and build a house. Ve'etzebo. Ve'akabeda amar Hashem. Now, interesting, ve'akabeda, which I'll be honored in it, Hashem says, is missing a hey. The ktiv, it's written about kabed without a hey at the end, but you read it about kabeda with a hey. What is the hey idea? What's the idea of the hey? So here, Rashi brings the famous midrash in Masechet Yomah that we saw together, right? And Carlos and Yosef. The Gemara says there were 5 things missing in Beit Sheni. Right, so that hey is saying Akabed, I'll be honored in it, but not completely. The hey is missing. 5 things will be missing in the second Bet HaMikdash. Right, and the 5 things that there were a few more, but these are the main things. Obviously, we didn't have the Aron, we didn't have the Urim, the Tumim, we didn't have the constant Esh, the fire from Shamayim, Shekhinah, and Ruach HaKodesh, right, which was not doing Beit Sheni. So Hashem says it's not going to be full right now. But he says, Pano el harbeh. And he's telling them, Pano el harbeh. He says, till now you're going to bring a lot, you're trying to bring a lot into your homes. You want to bring it into your house. I'm going to bring more curse to you. You think what you have now is not great. If the Beit HaMikdash is not built, it's just going to get worse. Whatever you bring into the house, I'm going to basically destroy. Yan me neum Hashem tzvakot. Yan beti asher hu charev atem ratzim ish lebeto. On account that everybody's running to their houses and my own house is not built. So until now, the siman was small, right? You weren't producing well. It wasn't beracham what you were doing. But if the Beit HaMikdash is not going to be built now, things are going to get much worse, and you're not going to have any beracha whatsoever. And you won't, even the little you bring into your house, you're not going to have. Al ken alechem, therefore you kalu shamayim mital. Notice in Eretz Israel there's no rain. Ve'haaretz kalei yebula, but the surrounding area have rain. Notice maybe there's something going on here. But he says, "Ve'ikra chorev al haaretz." But if the Beit HaMikdash is not built, I will bring a chorev al haaretz, dryness to the land, al haarim and the mountains, al dagan al tibush al yitzar, and on the grain and on olives and grapes, and anything which the ground will produce, anything you will do, I'll bring a yovish, I will dry it up. There won't be anything. So on one hand, Chagai is warning them. Hashem says, go build it. It's time. Get up and build it. But and your bracha that you're missing is because you're not building it. And if you don't build it, the opposite is going to come. It's going to be really worse. Look what it says. Vayishma Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel v'Yoshua ben Yotzei the Gadol. Zerubbabel hears. Yoshua the Kohen Gadol hears. The Chol Sherit Ha'am. And really it means the leaders of the nation. But Kol Hashem Elokechem. The voice of Hashem, Val Divrei Hagai Hanavi, and the words of Hagai Kasher Shalachu Hashem, Elokeim, they heard, Vayishma. They heard that it's time to build. Don't get discouraged, even though there hasn't yet been a command from Daryavish to build it. Hagai says, don't wait, just do it. He'll agree. He'll come along. Don't wait for him to say to go build it. Just start. So the Zerubbabel and the Kohen Gadol Yoshua ben Yotzedek Shomea, they heard the words of Musar, and they were in. The rest of the nation, what's their motivation? They were afraid. What were they afraid of? Afraid of the curses. But if they don't build it. So each one had their motivation. The leaders, Vayishma, they heard the words of the Nebuah. The Am Yireu, they were afraid of the curses. Hagai Malach Hashem. It's funny, fascinating. Hagai is referred to as what? Malach Hashem. V'yomer Hagai Malach Hashem. Why is he considered Malach Hashem? Because he's the messenger of Hashem. B'malachut Hashem la'am, as with a message from Hashem to the nation. Ani itchem ne'um Hashem. Don't be afraid to build it, even though Daryavish has not commanded you. I'm with you. I'm with you, and you'll be successful. Vayar Hashem et ruach Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel pachat Yehuda, and Hashem awakened the spirit of Zerubbabel ben Shatiel, the leader of Yehudah, ואת רוח יהושע בן יהוצדק הכהן הגדול, and the spirit of Yeshua ben Yotzadok, the Kohen Gadol, ואת רוח כל שארית העם, and the spirit of all the leaders of the nation, ויבואו ויעשו מלאכה בית השם צבאות אלוקיהם. And they went and they started planning to do the building of the Beit HaMikdash. And the plan started. When was this? ביום 24 לחודש בשישי, on the 24th day of Elul, בשנת שתיים דיירש המלך, in year 2 of Dayaravish HaMelech. So they started setting the plan. Actually, the actual construction doesn't start till later, but they started setting the plans in motion to begin rebuilding this second Bet HaMikdash. The 24th day of Elul, Kavdal Elul, they set this plan in motion, and to listen to the words of Chagai to begin building the second Bet HaMikdash. And the Malbim says here clearly, he says that in reality, Mashiach could have come many points in history. Mashiach could have come many points in history. And especially then he could have come, when they would have all come together, Kechoma, Jews would have come back together en masse, Mashiach would have come right then and there. But throughout history, Mashiach can come. And we're waiting for the signs, for this is supposed to happen, that's supposed to happen. Not dependent on the signs. Depending, if you do the Shuvah, Mashiach will come. And it could have come at any different points in history. You go through a bunch of different points that they could have happened. But we don't do Teshuvah, it doesn't happen. You don't have to wait for Gog and Magog. You don't have to wait to have Merucha. Don't wait for any of those signs. Right? Hashem says, go and build it. Just go and do it. So that's the Musar of Chagai to Bnei Israel to begin building the second Bet HaMikdash.
Any connection with the 24th? Because it's 6 days before Tishrei.
So
Creation.
So creation started on Kaf Hey. So it seems like it's like a day before creation. Like it seems like it's a day before. Right. The plans were set a day before creation. Or at least creation was set in motion. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Since this new was written down, so the